A report just dropped that according to leaked documents, Joe Biden is preparing to welcome Palestinian refugees from Gaza into the United States. Are we losing our minds? Also, Congress votes on a new anti-Semitism bill that may not be exactly what it appears to be, and we'll get into an update on Israel's deal with Saudi Arabia. I'm Ben, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Thank you so much for joining us once again here on YouTube. Also, for all of our faithful listeners on podcast and Rumble as well. So good to have you here. I'm going to remind you once again, your chance to stand with the nation and people of Israel is coming up very soon here at the end of May. The IsraelGuys.com/summit is where you can find all the information on our very, very exciting summit in Nashville, Tennessee that's coming up soon. A report just dropped from CBS that says the Biden administration is considering bringing certain Palestinians from Gaza into the U.S. as refugees. This is according to internal federal documents leaked by CBS by unknown sources or unquoted sources. The documents show that in recent weeks, senior officials across the government in the United States have been discussing bringing Palestinians from Gaza to the U.S. as citizens or permanent residents. One of the proposals would bring Gazans who have fled to Egypt and who have ties to the U.S. into the U.S. Another proposal would state that Gazans who that would bring Gazans directly from Gaza who have American relatives in the United States. All the Gazans that they bring would qualify for receiving permanent residency and resettlement benefits like housing assistance and a direct pathway to citizenship. Need I say that this is insane, patently insane? Importing the problems of the Middle East into the United States will not go well, will not end well. We're already dealing with a lot of the issues of bringing in other cultures to the United States too quickly, too much, too soon, without an absorption process, without an assimilation process into the culture of the United States. We're already dealing with bringing in nationalities, people from other nationalities that have no desire to become American, that want to live in America and receive the benefits of America without being American at all. Europe is facing the dire consequences of this exact same situation. They've brought in countless refugees from war-torn Muslim countries over the last however many years and are experiencing devastating consequences of that, in that a lot of these Muslims have just taken over the countries, just full-on taken over the culture. Great Britain is a prime example of that. We're currently witnessing the fall of European culture as we speak in a terrible, devastating ways for Europeans. It's not a rap on hardworking people from third world countries that want to immigrate to Western countries. But and it's great. We want to welcome you into our countries. But when you come, you have to come in a way that you can actually be absorbed and assimilate into the country and become American or become British or become French, not bring all the problems from the third world country into the United States or into Great Britain or any other European country and just turn those countries into the countries that they left. So Europe is very much experiencing the consequences of this. The United States were already experiencing some of those consequences as well, bringing Gazans, Hamas supporters, into the United States, a place that Hamas is already actively infiltrating and has a lot of desire to do harm to. Shipping in these refugees will not end well for the United States. Everybody knows this. I have no idea why the Biden administration is ignorant enough to think that this could be a good idea, but this is insane. There's a new bill working its way through the American government that is very controversial. It's called the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. Basically, for some background, the U.S. government passed Title VI of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. And according to the way I understand it, feel free to correct me in the comments below if I get this wrong, but the Department of Education enforces anti-discrimination laws on publicly funded projects, including schools and universities. So these anti-discrimination laws says that you cannot discriminate against students on the basis of race or ethnicity. You can't hold a KKK rally, on school grounds. You can't. Students can't protest and block black people from going to class, or white people, or Asian people, or Jews, for that matter. This has been very much enforced by the Department of Education. Many think it's been very one-sided. After racial tensions eased after the 1960s, and a kind of a sense of normalcy was brought in racial tensions in the United States, things shifted to where, on many universities today, it's common to harass white people or harass Jews or harass Asians. And that's not being enforced by Title VI, even though the Department of Education should step in and keep that from happening. It's been rather one-sided. And Title VI, the Department of Education has made very clear over the years, does include anti-Semitism. It very much does, or supposed to. But there is a new law making its way through, this Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. And according to this act, it would bring an official definition into the legal system of the United States of anti-Semitism for Title VI to enforce, if that makes any sense. This new definition comes from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, who created a very broad-reaching definition on their website that many think is very good culturally. I think personally it's very good culturally. It's a fantastic definition and set of examples underneath. Legally, there is grounds for confusion. It's very broad reaching, and not super well defined legally. And the bill that's working its way through the government very heavily leans on this definition without codifying exactly what they mean in the actual bill itself. They just reference the article from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. The problem with this bill, while it seems very good on the surface that the United States government should come out and condemn anti-Semitism with this bill, add new stricter definitions for the government to enforce on publicly funded schools, the problem is the anti-Semitism that has been happening on college campuses with these riots and protests and all the things before are already illegal under like 15 different laws. All these protesters could be arrested for any number of infractions against the schools and Title VI. They can't be stopping Jewish students from going to school. They can't be protesting in the middle of the night. They can't be harassing Jews, punching people in the face. The whole works. All of this is illegal. So if the United States government, if the schools didn't expel these students or arrest them, whatever needed to happen for all the laws that are already on the books, then adding new laws won't change that, right? Adding new laws when you won't enforce the current laws doesn't change your lack of enforcement. It's a lack of enforcement problem, not the laws. So many people see this as a bit of a red herring to pass these laws. And not only that, but this anti-Semitism bill is very broad-reaching and would level a certain sense of it feels a little bit too much like hate speech rules to a lot of conservatives here in America. And we are very gun shy of that here in America after observing what's happened in Europe, in Canada and Australia with hate speech laws. And because of that, a lot of conservatives are very gun shy of that. The fact that it seems to be a broad overreach on free speech, and also the fact that it won't actually change anything for Jewish people. I think it's fantastic for politicians to come out and condemn anti-Semitism. I think it's something they must do. But what we really need politicians to do is to enforce the laws that are on the books to stop anti-Semitism, not necessarily pass new laws. If new laws were needed, that would be fantastic. Right now, they're not needed, in my opinion. But this is very much open for debate. Conservatives and everyone from all sides of the aisle are falling everywhere on the subject. I'd love to, have a conversation about this. My opinion's not set. This is just my thoughts kind of coming out on this law. So drop your opinions down in the comments below. I'd love to interact. Right now, also, good reminder, if you're enjoying these shows that are coming out here on YouTube, here at the Israel Guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. In a minute, we're going to get into the normalization deal that Israel is attempting to make with Saudi Arabia. We have a new update finally on that about to drop. But first, I have a question for you. Where do you buy your olive oil and honey from? How about your tea, chocolate, and cosmetics? If you knew that you could get these items from Israel and your purchase would help families living in Israel's heartland to thrive, would you be interested? What if I told you that you could purchase all of these items and much more easily online, and everything would be shipped to your doorstep in a matter of days? Enter Blessed by Israel. The truth is, Blessed by Israel was founded by very good friends of ours after coming to Israel on a trip with our organization. When they met the brave pioneers who live in Judea and Samaria, they were inspired to help these families thrive by bringing their products to the United States. Every purchase you make is a direct investment in family-owned businesses who are located in Israel's biblical heartland. Every purchase helps an amazing family place their roots even deeper in their ancient homeland. As you consider where to make your investments this year, I urge you to consider buying as many products as possible from Israel. Visit blessedbyisrael.com to check out their amazing product line, or click the link down in the description below. So we have an update on the deal with Saudi Arabia. Israel, as you probably know, have been in talks with the Saudis for quite some time. They and Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries have had a common fear, have a common enemy in Iran. The Trump administration started this process called the Abraham Accords, in which they tried to unite Arab countries with the state of Israel in an alliance against Iran, in an alliance of defense against Iran, because of that common fear. And it was very successful. Israel has been very successful in the Abraham Accords and finding peace with their Arab neighbors in solidarity to stand against Iran. This is very good for Israel, not only economically, but also, from a peace and security standpoint, and also good for their Arab neighbors who would love to have the backing of Israel's nuclear arsenal should Iran come after them tooth and nail, and the backing of Israel's missile defense systems and Air Force as well. Israel is one of the best militaries in the region, and other Arab countries know that and also are terrified of Iran. So this has been kind of a win-win, and Israel's been in the process of trying to make a deal with Saudi Arabia, which would be huge. Back in early October, Israel was actually very close to signing a deal with Saudi Arabia. This is why Iran initiated the attack on October 7th. One of the major reasons was in order to disrupt that deal, and in fact, it did. It did disrupt that deal. It was put on hold. But recently, negotiations have been back on with the help of the United States, and there's speculation that Israel and Saudi Arabia could reach a deal that would involve a security arrangement without necessarily the normalization arrangement. That they could kind of cut a halfway deal. There's been speculation in the media of that. They could come to each other's aid militarily, but Saudi Arabia wouldn't necessarily have to recognize the state of Israel, and wouldn't have to have like open trade and that kind of thing. The U.S. just did a press briefing and denied this, so that's good. They said that any agreement would have to be part of a package deal that includes recognizing the Jewish state, which is fantastic. They said this would include a package deal between the United States and the Saudis. So the U.S. is trying to create a deal between the U.S. and the Saudis, and also a separate deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. They also threw in that the deal would have to include a path to state for the Palestinians, which is very much expected. Saudi Arabia, for whatever reason, seems set on creating some sort of pathway to a Palestinian state. I don't think it's that they really care about the Palestinians so much. There's more to it than that. The politics are very complicated. The cultural politics are very complicated in Saudi Arabia. And for whatever reason, they need to use the leverage of a Palestinian state to get what they want politically and culturally. So it's looking like the deal between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia may be close. We don't really have details on that deal yet, but they're saying it may be close. And Israel, the deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia is still pending the outcome of Gaza, the war with Hamas. Basically, Saudi Arabia doesn't want to move forward until that is out of the way, and they can just talk about moving forward and not have to deal with the whole Hamas issue, which is very touchy inside of Saudi Arabia. I do think a partnership between Israel and the Saudis could be possible and could be a very good thing for Israel and for the Middle East. They do need to band together against Iran. Iran is a very formidable opponent, and they do have common interest here, a lot of common interest. How this will play out, it very much remains to be seen. Guys, don't forget to support the pioneers, the brave pioneers of Judea and Samaria, by purchasing their products through blessedbyisrael.com. The link is down in the description below. Again, if you didn't earlier, don't forget to subscribe and get the conversation going down below. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening in the land of Israel. We'll be back nearly every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Real quick, before you go, as a postscript to today's show, the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast is coming up very soon. We have a very special interview between Tommy Waller and Albert Wexler, who is from the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast. Tommy Waller just did this interview, and we are going to play it here for you to enjoy.
Hello, everybody. I have a special friend and guest here today, Albert Wexler. He's the global director of the JPB, the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, and I've had the privilege of being part of this Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, and not only in Jerusalem but all over the world. And Albert has done an amazing job bringing the world into an arena of blessing the city and the nation of Israel, the city of Jerusalem. And I wanted to, there's a special event that's coming up here really soon in the end of May. And it's called the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast in Jerusalem. And I think right now, with everything that's going on, we need to consider, and I would ask you to consider coming to this event. And I want to hear more about it from Albert. Albert, can you just share a little bit about what's going on and what the plans are for this year? Obviously, this is a critical time, critical time.
Thank you, Tommy. Well, first of all, it's great to be with you, and you have been with the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast pretty much since the beginning, and it's an initiative that comes out of the Israeli Parliament, the Knesset, and this is something that the Knesset members are doing annually. They are sending out an invitation for the Christian community to come and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So this is our 8th annual Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, and we just came back from the 20th Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast outside of Israel. It was in Stockholm. Wow. And the idea is really simple. Unite the Christian communities and the Jewish community in one purpose, praying for the peace of Jerusalem. But what we've seen throughout the history and also throughout our, history as the movement is that every time that the Jewish community and Christian community come together, something miraculous happens. There's history being made. There are things that are taking place that one cannot explain any other way, but God's hand supernaturally moving events in that nation or within Israel. We've seen it so many times. Monies released that, the Dutch government was holding back. People that, in the Italian government that, made a promise about moving the embassy to Jerusalem, suddenly winning the elections a year later. The same thing happening with the Fiji former prime minister, and so on and so on. I mean, you've seen it. You've been witnessing all of this. So we would definitely want to see your friends to come and join us on May 28th to May 30th. And we will have visits, of course, to the different kibbutzes that were under attack, on October 7th. But most important, we will come together in the Knesset, in the Parliament of Israel, pray together, and then have our ongoing, the conference will be like a 2-day conference in Waldorf Astoria. You will be speaking, I will be speaking, many other great speakers. And so we'll be happy to have all your friends, Tommy, to come and join.
No, that would be great. And this is an international event. I mean, there's people coming from all over the world. I would say that maybe the premier event in Jerusalem during the course of the year, where people are coming together, concentrating on the apple of God's eye, this place that was so, even in the Christian community, so important to Jesus, so important in our faith. And right now is the time to stand. I feel it's heavy right now. And I would encourage all of our friends, those who are listening to this, that this is a time to come to Jerusalem, to stand, even And I'm here. Albert's here. We are moving around fine. For those that may be concerned about what's happening here, the protection, as you have seen, that we've all witnessed, the protection of God's hand is over Israel. And so I would not. This is the time to come witness the hand of God, and what a blessing to just be a part of this. And Albert, I really appreciate just you allowing me, to be a part of this. And you've been up here several times and visited us here on the Mount of Blessing. And what encouragement that you and your family has been to us. So thank you. And we hope and pray that many will respond to this invitation. Amen.
I believe so. It's going to be really crucial because, we were speaking about this a bit earlier, that we have seen an international effort to recognize the, non-existent Palestinian state. And so the European Union countries are now joining and trying to do something. It's really the moment, I believe, that God is gathering the nations before the next chapter of this international confrontation takes place. I mean, we've seen a lot, Iran shooting 350 projectiles at us and nothing hitting. It's kind of miraculous. If you think of this, it's like 6-day war miracle type of happening. And then at the same time, I believe God is carving out a time. We're talking right now about this 40-day ceasefire. And I think, the hostage deal and all of what it takes, because we need to get the hostages out. I mean, it's clear there is no other way. But God will carve out a moment for the nations together in Jerusalem to get the blessing, to bring the blessing, but also to be blessed, so that the next chapter of this international confrontation that we can read in Zechariah 12 over Jerusalem will continue.
Amen. We're hearing a lot about solidarity. And I think right now there's never been an opportunity for Christians to commit and to show their solidarity with Israel. This is an opportunity. Solidarity is people that come and stand with the nation of Israel, with Jerusalem, in Jerusalem. And the people that are here, there's something about it when the Jews see non-Jews coming to Israel to stand in the midst of crisis. There's an outpouring of love. I think that historically we haven't shown Israel, we haven't shown the Jewish people, and right now is the time to do that. And I would encourage everybody, if you have the opportunity, pray about it and really seek the Lord. I think this is the time, this is the year. If you've been thinking about coming, this is the year to do it. So blessings on JPB, and I'm looking forward to it myself. And Albert, you are a dear friend, and we hope the best. The blessings continue. That God would look over and release those hostages. We hope by the time we get to the Jerusalem prayer breakfast, it may be a time of celebration, and that God would show Himself in a miraculous way. And I can't wait to experience that. We need that miracle. But sometimes it happens when the nations gather. God wants to see that. He's looking for those where He can find faith. We see that in our own scriptures. So thank you, Albert. Again, I'm looking forward again to it's always a very good event and a very professionally done event. And you've been stewarding it and captaining this ship for a long time, and really been blessed every year that I've participated in. It's an extravagant thing, and I would invite everybody here. Please be a part of it.
Thank you, Tommy.